Welcome to Dandelion Cottage. It's Paper Crafting Saturday, and I am Leslie Watkins. Thank you for joining me today. This is going to be a little more involved than the typical Paper Crafting Saturdays that I present, and that's because we're going to have a little watercolor, a little 3D card, and a lot of basic stamping techniques. Now, a lot of this work I've done ahead of time for you, so you don't have to sit and watch the whole thing because it would just be too long. But I'm also going to be telling you about an upcoming class that I have that will go into each of these things in more detail. So stay tuned for that at the end, and let's get started. So this is the stamp set we're going to be using, and you can get this set. Let me just go to my computer for a minute here. I'm going to pull up the stamp on the screen so that you can see it. And let me see. Oops. Okay, hang on, folks. I've lost my connection to my laptop. Let me just redo that. There we go. I've got it. Oh, I see what's happening. Ah, all right. Okie dokie. What I'm doing, you know, it's all a learning curve. There we go. I kept accidentally turning it off when I thought I was switching you to it. So there it is. So that's the stamp set with the dies, and there are a lot of them, and they're really wonderful. This is called Sailing Home, and it comes as a bundle. The dies are smooth sailing, and there are 12 of them in the set. And I think that you only have until today or tomorrow to get this at a 10% discount. So you'll want to get that before you lose that opportunity. The stamp set and the dies are carrying over into the new catalog, but I don't think that they're offered as a bundle any longer. If I'm wrong, I'll let you know in the notes before. I'll double check and get back to you. But I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So okay, here we go. So here is the stamp set, and here are the dies. And today we're going to be using the seaweed, the large sailboat, the small sailboat, the lighthouse, the anchor, and this label here. And I've already done the die cutting ahead of time. And I also have an assortment of other things that we're using. This is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. So I used some of that to create these little washes. And I made a little seascape background wash, very simple. And I'm going to do a little bit more to that. We have the very vanilla thick Zee Card Base. I have the retiring twine. I think you can get this on the retired list at a good price, but I have this that I used to make the anchor with. Let me zoom you in. There we go. Okay, so this was just very vanilla, stamped with crumb cake and also sponged on all the edges. And here is a sneak preview of one of the new in colors. This is Misty Moonlight. It's a terrific color. I really like it very much. And I think that it would also work very well in a marine. So that's why we have that there. And then I've got a whole bunch of different die cuts with the Lighthouse, the large sailboat, and the small sailboat. These were stamped in balmy blue, and I did some of them at 100%, and some of them are stamped off once, and some of them are third generation. So I've got various tonalities here to choose from. And finally, I have the 2020-2022 enamel dots, and these will be available on June 1st with the Misty Moonlight paper and inks and so forth. And we're going to use some of these Misty Moonlight dots to decorate our card. All right, and then the other thing that I have here are plenty of dimensionals. I've got some glue dots, and I've got my liquid glue handy. So the first thing first is the Zee Card Base. And this is very, very simple. And it's something that you can do with very little effort and really wow your card recipient. So because we're using a landscape format today, I'm going to score. This is a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. This is the thick Very Vanilla. And I'm just going to score that at 5.5, like so. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to score it at 2 3/4. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over again, and this time I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. And then I'm going to cut it again. And let me just check my measurement here. At 1.5. Is that right? Let me see. Yeah, 1.5. Okay, so what you end up with are these two pieces. And all we're going to do is fold them in a Z shape, just like that. So this is the front of our card that looks like this. And this piece we're just going to flip over and use like this. So it's the exact same thing, we've just flipped it. So here it is going the same way. You're going to flip it this way and turn it on its side. And you're going to end up with something that looks like this. Okay, and this is a very sturdy way to create a card that will stand up nicely on a shelf or on a table or a desk or whatever. Okay, so before we go any further, I'm going to put this aside for the moment, and I'm going to take out my little watercolor that I painted earlier. Okay, now you can paint this all in one go and then cut it in half, or you can have it in two pieces. Ultimately, it's going to measure 2 11/16 wide by 4 1/4 high, and this one is also 4 1/4 high, and it's 5 7/16 long. Now, the reason why I've taken a 1/16 off of the ends is so that when you adhere this to the inside of the card, there's a little bit removed in the fold here, so that folds nicely. So basically, really what I'm saying is that this is 2 3/4 with a 1/16 cut off. This is 5 1/2 with a 1/16 cut off. So it's not that complicated. Now what I want to do is I want to add a couple of sailboat images to my watercolor. So here's my balmy blue ink pad. I've got my D block, and I'm reaching inside my stamp case and I'm grabbing the smaller sailboat image. And I'm just going to stamp one here, and then I'm going to stamp off a second one back there. Okay, and I think let's add another one to this side too. All right. Give that a quick cleaning. And now I want my birds. We have some seagulls included in this set. And for the seagulls, I'm going to stamp off once. So I'm just going to take a little piece of scrap paper here, stamp off once, and then put them there. And I'm going to do the same thing over on this side, a little bit lower, okay? And let's just add a couple over here as well. Okay, so that is our background. And the only thing that's left to do is to just paint in a little bit of the waves around the sailboats. And to do that, I'm going to take my balmy blue ink. So here's my refiller. I'm just going to put a drop in the lid of my stamp pad. I just need a little tiny bit. And I have my aqua painter here. And I'm just going to lift some of that blue ink. Let me get you in screen here so you can see better what I'm doing. And I'm just going to add some strokes. And I'm painting in a kind of a dry brush technique. So there's a little bit of sparkle left on the water. I'll do the same on this piece. Okay, so it's just that easy. That's all we need. And now we can begin to assemble our card. So I'm taking my Tombow liquid glue. Make sure you can see everything. Okay, and I'm going to take the glue and just run that around the edge of the watercolor paper. Put a little in the middle. And I'm adhering this to the card so that it meets up at the outer edge, like so. So I want that to have a nice even edge here. And then that little piece that we removed is here in the fold. Okay, now the same thing with this piece. There we go. And this one I'm placing so that the left edge meets up with this fold. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that everything is all lined up and nice and even. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and give that a nice burnish. Burnishing is good. All right, so there we have the inside of our card that looks like this. Okay, next we're going to assemble the rest of the card. So to do that, I'm going to take our Z-fold strip, and this is going to be adhered like that. So I want to be careful not to put the glue past the midpoint. And I mean, you can even, just to be sure, you can just flip that, put a little pencil line. Okay, and that will tell you where to put the glue. Now I'm just matching that up with this corner like so. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece and put the glue here. And that's going to go in this corner. So I'm just going to hold that for a minute, make sure that that sets up. Grab my bone folder, give that a good burnish so that all the glue is evenly distributed. Same thing here. And that's the basic Z-fold configuration. So all we have to do now is decorate. So to do that, hold on a second, I've got a dimensional stuck to my colored mat here. All right, so here's the piece of Misty Moonlight, and this measures 2.5 by 4. If you don't have Misty Moonlight and you don't want to wait until the new catalog comes out, you could use Balmy Blue. That would look beautiful. And I'm just taking my liquid glue. I'm running out of that one. Let me grab a different one. And I'm going to adhere this to the front panel of the card. And I'm leaving a little bit of a border. Get that all squared up. I've got a little glue coming out the side here. I keep tissues right on my desk so that I can just rub the glue away in case I get a little bit of oozing from the side. Here we go. And then I have my seaweed. I've got 3 pieces of seaweed cut out, and these are in Mossy Meadow. And then I have this sentiment that I stamped and die cut, and I did that on the Very Vanilla with crumb cake, and then I sponged the edges. The exact same thing for the anchor. Okay, and then I just put about 6 inches of this little twine through there, and I'm gonna tie that in a knot at the end. There we go, and I can trim that. And then I've got all of my various sailboats and lighthouses here. Okay, so I'm going to take my lighthouse, and what I want to do with this, where are my sponges? Here they are, right in front of me. So here I have a quarter of a sponge that I cut down, and I'm taking my Balmy Blue ink pad, and I'm just going to sponge around the edges of some of these things. I want them to have a little more finished look. I don't want them to look like they were just cut out. So just by doing a little flicking around the edges, it makes a really big difference in the way these things look. It looks much more finished and professional. Okay, so I'm going to do that on my lighthouse. I'm going to do it on my sailboat. There we go. And here's one of the smaller sailboats. I'll do that one. And that'll probably be enough for now. We can always do more if we need it. Okay, so I'm taking a piece of my seaweed, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of that, and I'm just sort of dotting it around. And I'm going to place this There. Okay, so I'm placing it so that the top of it reaches up to here and off to the side here. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sentiment and I'm going to pop that up on a couple of dimensionals. Like so. And this is going to go right here, like so. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my seaweed again. A little bit of glue here and there. And I'm going to send this off to the side, like so. And then finally, I'm going to take this last piece of seaweed and just in the bottom areas, excuse me, I'm adding a little bit more glue and I'm going to blot that, spread it out a little bit. And this piece is going to go sideways like that. And then I'm going to take my anchor, and I'm just going to give that a little bit of a curl so it has a little more dimension to it. And taking my dimensionals, I'm just going to cut them down a little bit. And I think I can fit a full one right down in here. That's a little too close. Let me cut that down too. Yeah, half one fits perfectly. Okay, so peel away those backings. And I'm just going to set that down to the bottom corner of the card like that. And I think what I want to do is take a glue dot and just put that behind the knot to hold that in place. Keep sticking to my finger. There we go. Okay, so that is the front of the card. Now let's get to our lighthouse. So I'm going to put 3 dimensionals on the back of the lighthouse, top, bottom, and middle. And this is going to be placed right in here. Now this sailboat, which is one of the darker imprints, is going to be attached here. I'm going to put that, this is a very dimensional card, so there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be nice and thick so that when you stand it up on display, it'll really give you that impression of space. So this one's going to go right in there, like so. And then finally what I want to do is to take this little sailboat. I'm going to put a dimensional on that one. And I'm just going to tuck that in. Let me see where it would look the best. I think we'll put it right here, so that it's behind that sailboat. There you go. All right, so for the last bits, I'm going to take my enamel dots, and I'm taking the, let me get this so you can see what I'm doing, taking the Misty Moonlight, that one came apart. Hold on, I think I split that one in two by accident. Let me grab this one. Here we go. I'm just going to put a couple of these I haven't used these dots before, and it looks like they're separating. Let me try that again. Okay, I'm being a little more careful about how I pick them up. I think I'm being too rough with them. There we go. I separated that one too. There. So there's our card. You can write a little inscription here. You can write more of a sentiment in here. So there's enough room for you to write Dear Dad, if this is a Father's Day card, or to whomever else. And I think you can see how that looks in the background. There we go. Okay, so that's our show for today. Here's the email address or the website address so that you can subscribe to Notes, which is an email that comes to you on the first of each month, and that will tell you what the upcoming classes are. So there's a new issue getting ready to go out in just a day. There will be special classes this month on watercolor and painting with ink. So if you're interested in learning how to do a watercolor like this, like a seascape that can be used in the back of this Z-fold card or in the back of this shadow box, That's what we're going to be featuring. So please subscribe to Notes. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you again on Monday at 12 noon for Marvelous Monday. Bye for now.